I applaud first. It's okay. It's okay. Just keep going. Yeah.
All right, man.
Hi, man.
What's up? Cool. Nice.
They're yours.
It's lovely.
I was going to
Lovely.
introduce you with your names, but they just started cutting me, so it's
couldn't
called
wait.
Fink,
It's
Greenall
up
and
there
Tim
anyway.
Thornton, ladies and gentlemen, of Fink.
Nice to meet you.
Let's do it again. That was a great clip. We need to talk about that clip as well.
Sure.
And where it's been done and when and why. But first of all, Hard Believer, the new record, is a brilliant album.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for making it.
Cheers.
Are you nervous with putting it out now?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit.
Yeah. Although I'm excited because I'm
excited.
It's one of the few records that, I mean, we made it like 6 months ago, and we still really like it, and that's kind of rare to still really like a
Sure.
record you made that long ago.
So there's nothing you would change if you could do it again?
There's always
we'd
little bits.
record the whole thing again. Yeah. And in another 6 months, we'd want to do it again. And then when we finish the tour, we want to do it again.
That kind of sucks, does it? if you have those months between the record is finished and you want people to hear it, probably,
Yeah.
and then it's taken ages before it's coming out, and you have to do the promo. You told me you've been doing PR now for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So where you been? All over the place, I guess.
Yeah. We crisscross Europe.
Yeah, and
like
LA
I
as
actually
well.
know with Schönefeld and Tegel, I actually know like the airports really well. I'm literally easy jetting it like every day somewhere. It's been madness, but you know, promo is like it's crucial because you actually get to learn about your record by talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting to do it.
And playing kind of acoustic versions of it, it's actually quite good because you learn things about, you know, which bits work on the radio, and that helps the live shows as well. So, but we went to California as well to do a week of promo out there, where we did an actual gig, like a proper kind of dirty, sweaty gig.
That was great.
And that was nice to get the, you know, to actually play the album properly, you know, in front of a crowd. That felt really good. You know, all these kind of controlled radio environments and stuff. You want to just blast it out.
So how did no, before we talk more about the record, let's talk about this city, because Finn, you live in Berlin now.
Yeah.
I guess you visit quite often.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Berlin? I mean, is there any, you know, why is Berlin such a happening place at the moment? Everybody seems to be wanting to be here.
Well, I felt that it didn't have enough hipsters, so I thought, you know, yeah, it needs more DJs and hipsters, so I thought, yeah.
More beards.
The beard count was a bit low in Kreuzberg, I thought I'd add to it. Well, when you finish a record, there's this really beautiful moment between there it is and get on tour. In this case, it's festival season, it's the summer, so do the festies. And that's your window to do something interesting. The next 2 years are just wiped out with touring and you know, stuff. So I could either choose Los Angeles or Amsterdam or London or something, but Berlin, I've always wanted to live here, like ever since I first came here. And loads of my mates live here, and
so what about you?
creatives can live. You can live. It's affordable. It's great.
You're living in London right now?
I'm living in London, yeah. I mean, I love London. I have a family, so it's not so easy for me to suddenly go somewhere else. But it is Berlin. I mean, I've always loved it. I've always felt like I haven't spent enough time here. We come in for a gig and then we leave the next morning. And on the drive, on the way out, you look at it and you think, oh yeah, this is pretty awesome, you know. So yeah, I do like it. Hoping to spend. We're playing here in November, so maybe we'll get some time to look around.
And
then.
I think it's 3 gigs, right?
Well, maybe
I'm not sure.
2 at the moment.
Okay, it's going to be 3.
maybe 3.
So let's get back to the record, because Hard Believer, you choose. You already worked with Billy Bush, with the producer of the record.
Yeah.
And he's famous for, you know, Garbage, Beck, Fuss of the People, lots of other bands. So what's the role of a producer on a Fink record? Because I always imagined you guys just doing it on your own.
Well, we did the first one on our own in the Brighton house.
Yeah.
Biscuits for breakfast, and then we did the third one on our own in Brighton. And after that experience, I vowed never to do anything on my own again, because it's never-ending questions about, is the bass too loud, is the vocals too loud, is the snare too loud, on top of the whole, is the song any good, is the melody right, are the lyrics cool, you know, and it was just too much. And when we met Billy to do Perfect Darkness, the whole mission statement was just record us. We've got it all covered, all the songs and everything, we just need someone else to do everything, you know? And the experience was awesome, and Billy brings to the table this kind of Hollywood efficiency of just, we can do a record in 17 days, you know, which is so good. And a lot of producers work slowly and methodically, and that's really cool. But we're in a real hurry. Yeah. We want to capture the ideas of that couple of weeks and put it on the record.
Is that something that's important for you, to be fast and efficient, instead of, you know, taking ages for a record or taking months?
We're all really impatient, the three of us. So we just want to get on to the next thing all the time. And also, because we play quite acoustic music that could be seen as quite mellow, I think it's important for it to have an urgency to it, as well as the mellowness. And we all really like rock. And you know, we have our favourite metal bands as well. And
which
you
ones?
know, even though, well, System of a Down is one of the sort of. But
I'm getting quite heavily into Neurosis at the moment as well.
But because of that, you know, we like the record to sound big, even though we're playing acoustic instruments, and you know, big and urgent. And Billy helps us do that.
We want to do like capture performances. So it's not about perfection. It's about take one or take two. I'd say that 80% of the last two records have been take two, you know, complete takes. And
didn't you once say in an interview that even that you could imagine yourself just playing music and not even recording it? Something like that?
Well, the recording it's the good bit, because you get to just hang out in studios all day, and it's such a controlled environment. You can, you know, especially if you do it in LA, you get up, the weather's beautiful, you go to Starbucks, you go to the studio, you do exactly what you love all day, and then you walk home, you go to the bar, and then you go to bed, and you just do that over and over again, and it's completely awesome.
It's a great life, isn't it?
That is just so awesome. I mean, you know, we get enough of the whole rocking out tour bus lifestyle when we do the tours, and when we do the studio thing, I like get healthy and like eat salad, and you know, it's actually kind of. We kind of live for it, actually.
I wondered about the process, because looking too close, we heard the song, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be about, you know, people looking too much into detail on their own, and you know, getting lost there, or over judging themselves.
Sure.
And does that work for music as well?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's one of the songs on the record, "Truth Begins," which is definitely an exercise in not looking too closely, because it's scruffy, there's things wrong with it, there's bits that are not very tight, but we love it because it's kind of the full picture is good. And if we could have spent another 2 days on it, just analysing everything, but you know, it wouldn't have made it better.
I mean, the producer had a day off that. I know you guys haven't heard this track yet, it's really nice, but the producer had a day off that day, and we had to write this track. We always hit the studio not enough tracks, so we have to write something under the spotlight pressure of studio time. And in order so that he didn't sort of overproduce it or whatever, we recorded it like live in the room, so all the parts are completely connected. You can't fix anything, you can't change anything, and just said, you know, just tidy it, you know, do your best with this.
Yeah. And he was a bit taken aback, actually, wasn't he? He was listening to it for the first time, going, how am I going to fix this? Maybe I'm not going to fix it. You know.
I also realized we were talking a bit before we met here about you know, doing electronic music way back then, doing techno, ambient, whatever. And I realized that in Fink's music there's also a lot of you know, sequential stuff on the guitar, within the drums. You're not working with electronics, right?
No.
You know,
not kind of sequenced electronics.
And no loops or stuff like that.
Occasionally we do a loop on stage.
Okay.
Purely because there's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
And you know, if we need a bit more coverage, we use a loop. But there's no kind of sequenced rhythm track that we play along with. I don't really think people would like that if we suddenly pressed the button.
Turned into the editors or something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they do playback gigs, but just all of a sudden ding 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 kind of. It would be kind of weird.
But is the way you play, is that something that draws from electronic music?
Sometimes.
I mean, the lack of the electronic music generation that I was part of in the 90s had no musical sort of knowledge at all. No, couldn't read music, play instruments. You weren't in the press shots. It was like faceless technology kind of stuff, and which means that when people from that generation pick up a musical instrument, they're applying the same rules as they did when they made house or drum and bass or whatever it was. It's all about the rhythm and the hypnosis kind of elements of it. So definitely on the guitar, because I'm self-taught and I come from that background, it always starts with like a loop that is just linear and deep and trance-like, and then the vocals and melodies just have to keep that vibe going rather than change it or ruin it or whatever, and therefore we're kind of freed up from thinking, I can't use those chords because it's Wonderwall, because I don't know what the chords are to Wonderwall, and whatever. Or I mean.
And if you do, you're going to have to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not for the chords. You can't own G.
For the sequence, maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Depending on how you sing over it, I guess. So you mentioned that it's the Fink sounds mellow, but it still has a lot of energy because you guys like rock music as well. I think there's I like Fink because it's as tragic as life. Sometimes do you draw energy from drama in life?
Drama, baby.
Yeah.
Drama.
Cool. Yeah.
It's all drama, bro.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess, when things happen in your life, even if you've got sort of a really good life, it's all relative. Something can be kind of really dramatic on that particular day, and it can be something quite small, and you can turn it into a sort of a mini drama, and then you can turn it into a song if you can find the right words for it. I quite like that image in our song This Is the Thing. I quite like the line, I was real quiet when I closed the door. I just have this sort of image of this moment where you sneak out of a room and shut the door, and it's quite, even though that's a tiny little thing, it's sort of quite dramatic.
The weird thing about that lyric, actually, I remember the door. It's the only thing I remember from that apartment in Highbury.
Oh, right.
Is the door from that lyric.
Okay.
I got a terrible memory when it comes to what time are we flying to Amsterdam tonight?
Yeah.
I have no idea. But I can remember emotional moments in a weird way. And so quite often the songwriting comes from a guitar, a musical pattern gives you a vibe, and it will just spark off, that feels kind of like that vibe that I had over there, and then the song just kind of blossoms out of that. We don't really sit down and kind of say, let's write a song about this scenario. I've done some pop writing, and quite often you have to kind of invent a story to have the song, boy meets girl, yada. But with Fink, we just don't. It's all so. Some songs have got 3 verses in, and each verse will be from a different moment in my life or your life, but they'll all be connected by some kind of universal feeling.
I must give you a compliment, by the way. I think you might probably be the first drummer I talked to that actually talks about the lyrics of the band. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much. I don't know what to say about that. Really.
But you do.
I'm a kind of a wordy drummer.
He's a wordy drummer. It's worth noting. He's also a novelist as well, so he knows a lot of long words, and he can.
I know words.
You know a lot of long words.
Yeah. 3 syllables sometimes.
Sometimes that's true.
Yeah.
Do you work with comma as well?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Semicolon.
He's a grammar freak actually. Whenever we do a blog, I have to send it to Tim to fix. Because he's like, you can't say that, you can have a comma there, you can't, that's got a capital, and I'm just like, dude.
I was talking about, I was asking for lyrics and all that because, people saying you need to be unhappy to be a great artist, stuff like that. You both don't seem too unhappy, so it's probably, what people say is probably wrong.
I don't know, how long's the interview, man? I mean,
Just another 2 or 3 hours, we're going to get by. But talking of social media and all that, I saw you taking pictures for Instagram
Yes.
and for
Constant.
Is that something you like? You enjoy?
You kind of like it actually secretly.
I don't
you?
mind bits of it, but it's a bit. Sometimes you keep feeling that you have to sort of say things, and then you realise maybe that you're annoying some people by constantly saying things. But I don't know. Apparently, it's sort of interesting, especially photos. I think photos are always good because everyone likes to look at something. I mean, it's a simple thing, but if you put a photo up on social media, it does so much better than putting a link to a blog or a link to another page. People just like looking at photos.
It's a necessary evil as well.
Yeah.
Man, it's got to be done. Like if you don't do it, then your management get annoyed and your label get annoyed, and you don't do anything.
But do fans get annoyed if you don't do it?
I don't know if they get annoyed if you don't do it. I think they get more annoyed if you don't come and play in their town.
Yeah.
Like constantly, we get messages from people saying, why do you not come to Azerbaijan?
Yeah. Literally, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So why?
Why? I don't know.
It's a routing issue.
Routing.
Routing.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, yes.
Yeah.
Before we switch to the Q&A, which means that you guys can ask questions. So think about your question, prepare it, and then I might let you ask it. One last thing for us, you're putting out the record on your own label now.
Sure.
It's recouped with a weird writing. I guess you did that.
It set off all my apostrophe alarms.
And how did that come across? And can we expect other bands on the label? Or is it got to be a Fink only label?
Well, it's like I've had labels in the past. I've had a rock label and a folk label and a dance label, and because of the artists, they all failed, and except for the dance label, funnily enough, which is quite cool. But for years, I thought it was a nightmare to run a record label, and like you'd be mad to just spend all that money and never get it back. But I don't know, it feels kind of good again now. And we've been signed to Ninja Tune forever, and it's really super rare that as a band you have a relationship with the music industry that's that long. I mean, I've seen the A&R guys' kids grow up, and most bands, they have a new A&R guy every 2 years, a new CEO every 4 years. But the guys that we deal with at Ninja Tune, we've known them since the 90s. Yeah. So, and that's super, super rare, and we didn't want to change that. So our record, this new Hard Believer record, it's not really a Ninja Tune record. So the only way to carry on working with Ninja Tune, which was what we really wanted to do, was to have our own label within Ninja Tune. And yeah, we're looking at a few others, looking at a few bands, a few singer-songwriters. And the only criteria is that we've got to really like it. That's it, really. And
like them as well.
Yeah, like them as no spoiled sort of artists. Just people who want to work. Because
anyone to support.
We love doing. We love working because what we do is we love it, and we do meet quite a few moany artists who are like, oh, it's not fair.
Yeah,
I have to get up today and do something, and it's like, dude, you should want to get up today and do something. So. Yeah, we're going to sign some artists, yeah.
So, let's turn to your questions now. Who's first?
Hi there.
Hi.
You also are from Bristol, no? Go to uni there. Cool.
Nice.
You guys have started doing some performances with classical, traditional orchestras.
Yeah.
How did you come about that, and how do you think it affects the dynamic of your sound? Did you expect it to go in certain directions, or were you quite surprised in the direction it went? What was the reaction like, and do you think you'll do more of it?
Well, if we can, we'd love to do more of it, but it's one of those things that it's a sort of once in a band time chance.
Yeah.
And they always have to ask you, unless you're kind of super loaded and you can afford to hire an orchestra. It always has to come from them. So
like this Concertgebouw orchestra we did the Dutch gig with, it's got the word royal before it. That's the level you got to be at to kind of fund it. You know what I mean? It's we own this city, so we can afford it. And it did affect, when we did this classical concert, we did think, after the gig, oh man, our next album's going to be like, you know, symphony based, you know, opus journeys, and we're going to get into like modern classical. But then, after you work with 100-piece symphony orchestra, when the string parts come in for your track and it's like a 4-piece chamber orchestra, you're just kind of like, where's the other 96 people? It just sounds really weak. And we did some strings for the record, but they all got cut because after this epic sort of orchestra night, they all just sound a bit, I want like 8 cellos now.
And a tuba player,
It was quite cool how it came about. This orchestra, they do one night a year where they try and appeal to the youth, and their idea of youth is like anyone under 65, sort of, really. And if you're under 30, you get, and you come to this gig, you get to come to any classical gig all year for like €10. It's a really cool deal. So you kind of hybridize between you and the orchestra, and you, like they said to us, we don't have a problem selling out this venue. We can sell it out every night at €200 a ticket all year. But we have a problem with
a certain type of person.
Yeah, we just want to get some fresh blood in, you know.
Yeah.
And they approached us, and Jules, the arranger, is a friend of a friend, and my friend rang me up and said, dude, you got to take this phone call from this guy, you know, but he's a nice guy, it's some orchestra thing, you know, you don't need management to get involved, just have a chat to him. And he talked to me and he said, yeah, I'm going to do this orchestra thing, are you kind of up for it? And I'm like, yeah, sounds cool, man, yeah. And then he's got
fantastically casual language about it as well. Like, let's smash the gig and have a beer. You know, like, okay. And then it's the scope, like that you didn't quite know how big it was going to be.
No, and then he spoke to management, and then our manager was on the phone to me within about half an hour going, dude, this is insane. You're not going to believe it. A Royal Orchestra is going to play Yesterday Was Hard on All of Us and sort of Revolution. It was really, really epic. I mean, we'd love to do it again, but we kind of all knew when we were playing the gig, it's a once. It's probably only going to happen once.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi.
What would be your advice for people musicians trying to start their music career?
Well, number one, write some decent songs, I mean, everybody's first record isn't always awesome, and I definitely don't think ours is, you know. There's a couple of decent tracks on it, but there's a lot of learning curve on your first record. And the lesson that I learned first off, and I've done like 8 albums now or something, and is finish stuff. So, you know, write stuff and finish stuff, because even if you think it sucks tonight, in 2 months' time you might listen to it and go, it doesn't suck, it's actually pretty good, or that chorus is wicked, I'm going to keep that, and now I realise that verse is a bit, so I'm going to fix it. So yeah, write as much as you can and finish as much as you can.
Yeah, and also you've got to be prepared for not everything is going to be amazing, even when you're the size of someone like the Foo Fighters. They're going to have gigs that are rubbish, they're going to have gigs that are amazing, probably in the same week, you know. So it's like nothing is. I mean, the day after we played with the orchestra, we played a very small gig in a very small town, and it was a little bit tricky. It was in Münster.
Münster.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything bad about Münster itself.
Was great.
The venue was great, but you know, the highs and the lows are sometimes massively, you know, but you just got to roll with it.
You know, some of our mates who've started to break through, people like Ben Howard, who's a good mate of the band, he how he made it was, apart from the fact that he wrote some great songs and he sings great and he plays guitar and everything, it was that he did all the support slot stuff. He did all the long tours. He supported. He was doing the rounds as a support band for like 2-3 years before he put a record out. He toured with us for 2 tours. He did Angus and Julia Stone and Xavier Rudd, and just gigging your face off. And if you can get out of your territory, that's even better. Somehow do some gigs in Paris, or somehow do some singer-songwriter nights, and if that's the style of music. And we're so much luckier over here than in the States, because in America they can't do the singer-songwriter nights until they're 21. And you know what I mean? So they can't do the bars, they can't learn their craft. And by the time they get to do a singer-songwriter night, all the Europeans have been doing it for like 4 years. So yeah, I mean, and also just get lucky. I mean, You know? Just get lucky. Yeah.
One more over there, please.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
I want to ask you, like, how about this change, this switch, what happened between the electronic music, the drum and bass period, and then the folk one? Like, what happened in your mind, and how is it possible that Ninja Tune did follow this?
Well, Ninja Tune was famous in the late 90s for like turntablism and electronica stuff, but and I was part of that thing, and I DJ'd all over the world, and it was great to be paid to party and have fun, you know, in cash, and which is awesome. I really miss that. But you know, even that gets boring after a while. Even that. And Jose Gonzalez put out Heartbeats on. Put out Veneer, I think the album was called, on Imperial, and everybody heard it and everybody loved it, me included, and all the labels too. And Ninja were like, we want a singer-songwriter, but it'll look like we're, you know, zeitgeisting a little bit if we go and sign some dude. And so when I kind of sort of said, I'm kind of switching into a singer-songwriter, they were overjoyed because I was already signed on a DJ deal, which is like, I'll buy you lunch, can I have your publishing kind of deal. And so it didn't, they weren't jumping on any kind of fashion thing. I was already there, so they could feel comfortable with it. But it's okay to, as an artist, have different periods of your life. They can be violently different as well.
Yeah, you had a few life-changing gigs as well.
I had a few awesome gigs that really blew my mind. I saw Radiohead do OK Computer. I saw Beck do Golden Age acoustically. I saw System of a Down in London Astoria, which is a tiny venue, which was mind-blowing. And I did honestly just kind of go, man, as a DJ, even my best ever gig ever doesn't come close to the vibe of these gigs. And these gigs are just like Wednesday night, and then tomorrow they do it again, and then Friday they do it again, and they get this every night. Yeah. I get this every weekend. And I want to be in Radiohead, you know, it's not fair. Or I want to be Beck, you know, and yeah, I totally fell in love with the song again. I was really part of that anti-song. I used to come and see Timmy play. Yeah. Timmy was in punk bands and indie bands.
With Guy, the bass player, yeah. And he used to come to the gig and used to say afterwards, I don't understand why you do this. Why would you want to play in this tiny little venue and play, you know, guitar, and it's all sweaty and horrible?
Yeah, my trainers would get ruined in these venues. It was like, you know, it was grimy. Yeah. And you get like 50 quid each, and then you'd be lugging a bass amp into somebody's car, and I'd be like, why do you do this? This is just madness. Yeah. But now I totally get it. Now I get it.
Well, I guess we all get it totally as well.
Nice.
So thanks, Tim and Finn, for being here.
No problem.
And
yeah, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, Heart really Believer is a brilliant record. Go out and get it.
Thanks, man.
And thanks to all of you.